Learning to ride a motorcycle requires a learning curve, and there are some things that just seem right when you're starting out, but experienced riders will tell you otherwise, and some riders never break bad habits or poor riding practices because they don't continue to learn and develop. They're stuck with that new rider skill set for their entire riding lifespan. This week on MCrider, we'll look at 3 common misbeliefs about riding a motorcycle. Hey, my name's Kevin, and I release a weekly video here on MCrider focused on road skills or road strategy to help you become a better rider. You know, one of the most common mistruths I hear about riding a motorcycle is it's just too hot to ride with the gear on. So I'm riding in shorts and a t-shirt in order to stay cooler. Well, have you ever paid attention to the guys who work installing roofs for a living? Or even footage of Bedouin people who live in one of the hottest places on earth. And just look at these guys. They're covered from head to toe. And there's a good reason why they're covered from head to toe, and something that we as riders could learn from these guys. So our natural reaction to heat is to take more clothing off. On a motorcycle, that's bad because you're removing your protective layer to do so. So in the event of a crash, you're much less protected. But it's also counterproductive to what you're trying to do. So aside from keeping you protected in a crash, having the proper riding gear offers you the following advantages. It allows you to sweat, and sweat's your body's own defense mechanism to heat, and it works especially well when riding a motorcycle because your motion on the motorcycle allows the sweat your body produces to work at maximum effectiveness. It keeps the sweat on you longer. So by riding with the jacket on, it allows the sweat to stay on your body longer, giving it more time to cool the body. And it also protects the skin from direct sunlight. Now, the sun evaporates the sweat and heats up the surface of the skin. So keeping yourself covered allows the body to travel in its own shaded protective shell. By riding in shorts and a t-shirt, you're making it impossible for the body to maintain sweat long enough to do its job. The body responds by causing you to sweat more, and you dehydrate sooner. So having your gear on not only protects you in a crash, but it keeps you cooler on a motorcycle when you're moving because it allows the perspiration to do its job. Now, if you're just standing around on a parking lot, you'll heat up quickly with all that gear on. But moving down the road, keep your gear on and you'll stay cooler because of it. Another common piece of advice I hear from experienced riders to new riders is they tell them to don't get a small motorcycle. You'll be bored with it in a few weeks and you'll be looking for a bigger motorcycle. So buying the wrong motorcycle is a huge hindrance to learning to ride a motorcycle. So what do I mean by that? Well, here's a true story of a rider that I've actually met. He was a new rider. He was purchasing his first motorcycle. He loved Harleys. He wanted to tour on the motorcycle, and money wasn't an obstacle for this guy, so he could get the motorcycle that he wanted. Because of the type of riding he wanted to eventually do, and from the advice of his friends, he goes out and buys this. And now that's a beautiful motorcycle, and like all touring bikes, it's expensive too. And he does the smart thing at least, and he takes a new rider course. He spends a weekend riding on a closed parking lot with no threat of traffic, in and out of cones, on a 200cc Yamaha TW200 with absolutely no threat of oncoming traffic. He struggles at first in the new rider class, but he passes the course. Not with a perfect score, mind you, but he was getting better by the end of the weekend. He leaves with the certificate. He can go to the DMV to get the M endorsement on his license, and he comes home to this. This and this are 2 totally different animals. One's cheap, light, easy to maneuver. You can find them on Craigslist, and they're not a very threatening motorcycle. The other's heavy, and it's very heavy, much more difficult to maneuver. They cost a small fortune at the Harley dealer, just like all big touring bikes. And our friend decides it'll just take him some time to get used to the Harley, so he'll take it easy. His wife wasn't real thrilled about him getting into motorcycling, and the last thing he wants to do is drop that motorcycle and cause her more concern or worry about him being out on the road. Plus, he doesn't want to drop it either. It's embarrassing, and the bike cost a whole lot of money. So the first time I saw him riding this, you could see the fear in his eyes. Every stop sign was a panic stop in the hopes that he didn't drop his dream motorcycle. Well, practice, he wasn't going to take this out on a parking lot and practice doing U-turns. He could barely do them on the TW200 in the training class. He wasn't about to attempt it on that big Harley. Emergency braking, nope, not yet. Tight turns from a stop, not on this motorcycle. So all he does is he rides from point A to point B and hopes that he doesn't crash anywhere in between. His fear and lack of continued training greatly hindered his growth as a rider. By the time he gets more comfortable riding his dream motorcycle in a straight line, he's totally forgotten 95% of anything that he learned in that new rider class. So he never develops those skills on the new motorcycle. Now, I feel pretty confident in saying that if the same rider had purchased a reasonable first motorcycle, he could have grown so much faster as a new rider. He wouldn't have been intimidated to train, and today he would be 10 times the rider that he turned out to be, only if he had purchased the right motorcycle to start out with. Now, if you buy a used small motorcycle for the first year of riding, you'll grow as a rider 10 times faster than you would otherwise. You can then sell that used motorcycles for almost what you paid for it, and then step up to a larger motorcycle. On the forums, one of the forum members posted a link to some live cam footage of the motorcycle rally in Sturgis. That's a great place to people watch and see some beautiful motorcycles. It's also a great place to watch and see some really bad riding habits. Do you notice anything about any of these riders and bad habits that they have in common? And you see this all day long watching this, they're dragging their feet. So why do riders develop that habit? Well, they don't want to drop their motorcycle, and they've learned from past experience that if their feet are not ready in an instant, that they're likely to do that. So I won't go into the techniques of proper riding at slow speeds. I'll just refer you to another MCrider video where I go into this in more detail, and you can see that here. So another common problem I saw is riders grabbing the front brakes at the stop. So they grab the brakes and the forks just really compress on the motorcycle. I got a video that can help you with that as well, and I'll have a link to that in the description and right here. So many of these riders may be just like that guy who I just talked to you about. They started with the wrong motorcycle, they never learned to ride that motorcycle properly, and they carry these bad habits with them until it costs them out on the road, or they finally reach out and learn to ride a motorcycle with more control. So 3 common bad habits or misbeliefs in the riding community: removing gear because of heat, buying the wrong motorcycle to start with, and a lack of or misunderstanding of basic slow-speed riding skills. If you got other ideas, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Or join us on the forums to discuss this video. Or if you just want to people watch in the Sturgis thread on the forums, forum members can go directly to that thread at mcrider.com/Sturgis, and you can sit there and watch other riders making their way through the streets there in Sturgis. It should be a good weekend to people watch, so now is a good time to get on the forums and to check these riders out. Hope you have a great weekend. Until next week, guys, it's Kevin with MCrider, and I'll see you on the road.